What's going on, guys? Welcome to the CG Gamer. I'm Tito Rosado, and the results are in. No, I'm not talking about the presidential election. I'm talking about the reviews for the next-gen consoles. PS5, Xbox Series X have now gotten into so many people's hands. So many different outlets have been given review units, and all those reviews are pouring out all over the internet. Unfortunately, I'm not one of those lucky people who received a console because I'm not important, but I'd like to talk about kind of what people are saying about these new consoles. So this is something that we've been anticipating for so long, and honestly, a lot of the things we're seeing are mostly what I was expecting to see as far as the pros and cons of the new consoles coming out. So one thing right off the bat is that both consoles are getting great reviews. I mean, anybody who has put a score on it or put out specific reviews going through the pros and cons, it's been a lot of positives about how fast the console is. I mean, from both PS5 and Xbox Series X, the load times have been drastically decreased. So many outlets have put out comparison videos of looking at side by side how long it takes to not only load up the console and get into a game, but just going through all sorts of loading screens, and it's some drastic decreases, which I think is a big win for all consumers, because this is something that it's not the most cool, fancy, exciting thing about next gen, right? I think going through previous console generations, there's been a bigger gap of like, oh wow, you can see the difference. Look at from Xbox 360 to Xbox One, or from PS3 to PS4, there was some more graphical fidelity that was like really eye-popping. Where this year, it feels like we've gotten to a point where things look really great. I mean, hello, did any of you play Last of Us 2? That game still is like the pinnacle of just graphical fidelity and how great games can look. But I think right now it is looking at what are other ways that we can shift things for the next generation. And obviously load times has been something that's been talked about a lot. And it's proven that what they were saying is true. I mean, every single review that's been put out, it's been talked about. And it's really cool to see, even with the Xbox Series X, is with Quick Resume. So Quick Resume allows you to jump into any game in a snap, and you don't have to actually load into it. So for me, I'm excited about this feature because while I do play a lot of multiplayer games with my friends, that instance where you get on and somebody else, oh, I'll be on in 10, I'll be on in 15, whatever it may be. So instead of just sitting there waiting, you don't want to load up a whole nother game, you could quickly shift over to that single player game that I'm going through. Then the second they get on, I jump back on multiplayer, play with them for how long that they're free, and then boom, jump right back to the single player game or whatever game I'm playing. And it's just seamless. So that's something I'm excited about because I do play a large variety of games, and I think that's something that will benefit me as well as a lot of other gamers out there who don't just stick to one simple game, that they want to kind of go through a bunch of stuff. So excited for that. The biggest thing that's been talked about with the PS5 has been, surprisingly, not the console itself, it's the controller. Everybody is buzzing about the DualSense controller and how amazing it is. I'm really surprised to see people buzzing about it so much, which gets me excited because at first when PlayStation was talking about it with the haptic feedback and the the feedback also on the triggers, it was something that I was curious to see how well it was going to be implemented. I mean, looking at when the PS4 first launched, when they introduced their new controller there, it was like they added the touchpad, they added the speaker, and those didn't really go, well, even the light bar as well, those didn't really go so well as far as being utilized. Really within any game that wasn't a strictly Sony PlayStation game, that wasn't exclusive to the PlayStation console. Because I feel like the speaker and the touchpad are just poorly used. They never really became of anything. But seeing what everybody's talking about with the DualSense is that how immersive it really can make the game. That, going through the Astro's Playroom, which is a pack-in game that comes in your PS5, which kind of takes you through a little bit about the console, as well as it gives you kind of an introduction to everything that the DualSense has to offer. Everybody has given glowing reviews about playing through that tech demo and really showcases what other developers could do in the future. I'm hoping developers will take advantage of everything that the DualSense is bringing to the table, so it's not just ends up being a lost cause like the touchpad and the speaker were on the DualShock 4 for the PS4, but only time will tell as we get some new games. And speaking of games, so for both consoles, there's really not a lot of new next-gen games coming out for the console. So far, really everything that is coming out, most of it can be played on the previous console, whether on your PS4 or on your Xbox One. Some of the only things that actually are strictly for next gen is like Demon Souls and I believe Bugsnax on the PS5. But other than that, a lot of the other stuff coming out, you can still play on your old console, so it's not like you have to run out there and get it. Obviously, there's people like myself who just want to have the best one, no matter, the best experience playing that game, even if you can play it on your older console. But some other newer things that PS5 is bringing to the table is they're introducing activity cards. So activity cards is going to be something based within the game that will kind of show you about how much time the game believes it will take you to complete a certain challenge, whether that's for a trophy or just anything else to complete in the game, as well as they're implementing some helpful guide videos, which I'm really curious to see how this is going to go as well. I know Demon Souls has stated that there will be something in the range of like 180 helpful videos within the game that you access in the game's UI. So something a little new, where I think obviously most people, when you need help in a game or something that you're completely stuck on, right, you jump to YouTube. So PlayStation's mindset is that instead of you going to your phone, they want you to just access it within the same screen you're already looking at. So while I think this could be helpful for certain things, I guess, me personally, it's like I feel like I don't typically like helping it. Maybe if there's something I really want to find or I'm super stuck on, okay, cool. But other than that, I think it's once again going to come down to the developers and how much they support it. Because I'm guessing, for Demon Souls to put out over 180 videos of helpful tips, that's more work for the developer. And I think even for some, when they make specific games, sometimes they don't want to necessarily give you all the answers. They want people to have to really dig and try to figure out how to complete a certain level without being told, this is how you can do it. So we'll see how that one plays out and see if developers continue to develop that in the future or not. That's a feature, though, that I'm personally not really excited for. I kind of don't care about. But I would say for me, it is really about the load times. That's something that if you can save me more time, it was kind of funny. They put out a video that was showcasing the load times between getting into Marvel's Avengers, where people have consistently complained about how long it takes to load into that game, similar to like a Anthem or any other live service game, right? It takes forever to get up in there, and it was amazing to see the drastic decrease in loading up the game. One thing I can't wait to see is how long it takes for me to get into Grand Theft Auto 5 online, because that takes forever. You sit in the clouds waiting until you can actually get into the city. So I'm really curious to see once somebody can do a test on that, or if I can just get my hands on it myself and do my own test and see kind of how that goes. But other than that, there's really nothing too new to the consoles. Obviously, people have talked at length about the size difference. The PS5 is huge. You can literally stack two PS4s on top of each other, and it's still not as tall as the PS5. It's a massive console. I've been looking at my entertainment unit, kind of wondering, how am I gonna house this thing? Because I don't know if it's going to sit sideways in a little cubby. And honestly, I think it's sitting on its side, it doesn't look good. It's sitting up like a tower. I feel like it's the way that's meant to be. Same thing with the Xbox Series X. So I guess my thought process is one on each side of the TV, I guess. So it's up, out, not in a cubby, so it's got all the room to breathe, even though both of them have some crazy fans. And speaking of fans, the PS5 has even said that their fan will get firmware updates based on how it needs to perform during certain games. So I thought that was kind of interesting, that if a game is really tugging on the PS5, that it will implement new upgrades within the fan so it can work in a way to better support the game that it's running. So pretty interesting there. I think nobody wants to end up with a red ring of death situation that the poor Xbox 360 went through. So they're really putting a lot into those cooling systems to make sure nobody has to deal with that issue. But it's crazy that we're here. Both consoles are launching next week, which is insane. One thing to note that PlayStation has put out there, that if you did not pre-order a PS5, that there will be none at brick and mortar stores to go buy. So with Xbox, while a lot of people were able to get their pre-orders placed, there's still an opportunity that you can go to a store and potentially get a console. But with PlayStation, they have said that that will not be the case. So I think once again, now that's going to decide up to the retailers, because I wonder if some of the retailers get in extra consoles, like a PS5 console, for example, that wasn't on a pre-order, are they gonna hold it back? Because because obviously they didn't hold back putting out the pre-orders. So I think that's another thing that I'll be curious to see what happens there. Me personally, I really want to try my luck at grabbing an Xbox when it comes out. We'll see if maybe they'll just happen to be one on the shelf, which I think is kind of wishful thinking because it's probably not going to happen. But I'm sure everybody's going to be scrambling to get their hands on one, and all of them are going to be flying off the shelves this holiday season. But what do you guys think about the next generation? Are you excited about it? Do you plan on getting the Xbox? Do you plan on getting the PS5? Or do you plan on getting both? Let me know down below, and have a great day.